They said he was reaching too far, that he didn't have what it takes, that he was just another nobody with a dream too big for his reality. At first, he thought they might be right. After all, he didn't have the credentials. He didn't have the backing. He wasn't the smartest in the room, the wealthiest, or the most connected. But he had one thing they didn't: belief. Quiet, stubborn belief. The kind of belief that grows in silence, that feeds off rejection, and that refuses to die. No matter how many times it's ignored, every path he took was a lonely one, every idea an uphill climb. He would walk into rooms and feel the air shift, but to him, it was proof that he was getting closer. Not in a loud, fireworks kind of way, but in the subtle, powerful way that only those who've toiled in silence can recognize. A tweak he made solved a real problem for real people. And they noticed. Word began to spread, not because of a marketing stunt. What they once rolled their eyes at was now reshaping their thinking. Competitors began to notice. Not just notice, copy, imitate. Try to reverse engineer what he'd built. Suddenly, he wasn't the outsider anymore. He was the one setting the pace, the one others looked to. The one leading the movement he started when no one believed in him. But because people actually found value in what he built, they started talking, sharing, recommending. Because the mission was never about proving people wrong. It was about proving the vision right. He knew the climb wasn't over. Success didn't mean rival. It meant responsibility. To keep creating, to keep growing, to keep showing up. What began as a whisper turned into a hum. And the hum turned into a buzz. That his instincts weren't wrong. That the idea had legs. It just needed stronger feet. He'd pitch what he thought were breakthrough ideas, only to be met with awkward glances and polite nods that led nowhere. Friends smiled at him. But behind those smiles was disbelief, or worse, pity. People said they were rooting for him. But their actions told a different story. They didn't think he'd make it. They didn't think he had it. But what they didn't know was that he wasn't driven by their approval. He wasn't chasing applause or waiting for someone to say go. He was already going, already building, already sacrificing. While others were waiting for the perfect moment, he was creating his own. He had put months into it, poured every dollar he had, and when it went live, it barely made a sound. Most people would have quit. Many told him he should. They said, maybe this just isn't for you. But he didn't listen. He took notes. He read every piece of feedback. He studied what worked, what didn't, and why. And then he went back to the drawing board, not to repeat what he'd done, but to refine it, reinvent it, rebuild it better. He failed, yes, over and over, but he failed forward. Each fall taught him something. Each stumble sharpened his resolve. He didn't see failure as the opposite of success. He saw it as the road to it. He worked in silence, while others posted polished versions of themselves online. He was grinding in the background. He gave up weekends, skipped parties, traded comfort for progress, not because he didn't want to enjoy life, but because he was playing the long game. He knew the difference between short-term pleasure and long-term legacy, and he was choosing legacy. His first launch was a disaster. It flopped harder than he could have imagined. Round 2 wasn't perfect, but it was better. It made a small splash. Nothing viral, nothing world-changing. He kept pushing, learning, testing, and then one day, quietly, something clicked. And then came the wave. The thing he was mocked for became the thing people suddenly couldn't stop. talking about, but he didn't slow down. He didn't bask in the attention or throw it back in anyone's face. He just kept going. And so he did. He expanded his vision, built a team, created a culture, not one built on ego, but on purpose. He hired people others overlooked, mentored those who reminded him of himself, ambitious, underestimated, full of fire. He spoke at events, not for fame, but to tell the truth. Asked for his advice, studied his methods. He would log onto platforms and see his work repackaged under someone else's name. His voice echoed in boardrooms he once wasn't allowed to enter. They were trying to replicate the output without ever understanding the input, the late nights, the lonely risks, the unglamorous work that went into every so-called overnight success. To say what he wished someone had told him when he was starting, that the world won't always believe in you, but you have to believe anyway. He became a blueprint, not just for how to build something valuable, but how to stay grounded while doing it. Maybe a future collaborator, or maybe even one of the people who once doubted you. Even when the recognition came, he stayed focused on what mattered, creating. Not copying, building. Not bragging, inspiring, not impressing. The point is, your courage creates permission for others. Your breakthrough becomes someone else's belief. Your win, once it happens, is never just yours. It's a signal that doing it differently is possible. He never forgot the early days, the silence, the doubt, the long nights when quitting felt easier. And that memory kept him sharp, humble, hungry. Meanwhile, the same people who once ignored him now quoted him and realized they were now trying to walk in the footprints you once had to carve out alone, not because you begged for their attention, but because you earned their respect, quietly, consistently, authentically. Remember that the people who mock you today may quote you tomorrow. That rejection doesn't mean you're wrong. That silence doesn't mean you're invisible. It just means you're early. And the ripple effect was bigger than he ever imagined. But he didn't need credit. He had something more powerful. Impact. He was changing the game. Quietly, intentionally, relentlessly. Just faith, grit, and a willingness to stand alone for as long as it took. That's what makes him different. That's why they all try to be like him now. His story isn't rare because he made it. It's rare because he made it while staying true to himself. No shortcuts, no selling out. And here's the truth behind it all. Originality is lonely at first. When you dare to do something different, you threaten the comfort of those who conform. You make people uncomfortable. You challenge the status quo. And that makes you a target. But if you can withstand that, if you can keep walking through the shadows of doubt, there is light on the other side. Not just for you, but for everyone watching. Because someone is always watching. Maybe a stranger who needed to see someone like you keep going. He understood that, and it's why he never stopped. And maybe that is the greatest success of all. When you stop chasing approval and start becoming the kind of person others naturally want to learn from. So, if you're in the middle of your own uphill climb, wondering if it's worth it, remember this story. Keep building, keep believing, keep becoming. Because one day, you look back at the very people who doubted you. They didn't believe in him. Now they all try to be like him.